When I was a student in upstate New York in the 90s and 2000s, life seemed quite directionless. The attitude of you can do anything you set your mind to, everyone is equal, and pursue your hobbies was at the forefront of the education system. Elementary school was pretty happy-go-lucky, and no one particularly struggled in school. Middle school was where all the cliques started. Now you had the nerds who like to play video games, and the sports kids, and the pretty girls, and the shy girls. You didn't see a huge mixture between these groups. The social hierarchy began to take form. High school was like a distilled version of this. Popularity contest is an understatement. Nothing was more divisive than the school lunch table. Yeah, I know it's a trope, but choosing where you sit as a new kid may in fact dictate your entire high school existence. The 80s movies' stereotypes of bullying didn't really happen to any significant extent, but you could easily become an outcast if you hung out with the wrong people. The kid you hung out with your entire childhood might not be cool enough for your new group. Sometimes the coolness of a group can change as well. And with that change, your style and your identity with the group changes. Just look at me at freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. I can't believe I did that. To fit in, lots of kids would take on the hobby of their group, so more often than not, this was underage drinking and drugs and parties and more. But you also had kids that would do, illegal street racing and play online RPGs or vandalize rival schools or, really get into their sport of choice. I was a swimmer, so on the cool scale, not exactly a football player, but definitely not on the same level as the bowling team. Americans will know what I'm talking about. In my generation, at least at my school, the coolest kids were the troublemakers. Not the throw shit at the teacher type, but the kid who had parties when mom and dad were away. Not the kids that sold the weed, but the kids who always knew how to get some. It definitely wasn't cool to be smart or well-liked amongst teachers. However, being dumb and borderline dropout was not cool either. I honestly can't believe some of the stuff that me and my friends got up to back then. I legitimately feel scared and embarrassed when I think back on it. But that's another story for another time. I want to say that high school wasn't insanely hard for me to deal with. I was either the leader of the group or generally tolerated by the other ones. I didn't see the absolute torment that many of the kids went through. Some probably never forgot the feeling of being ostracized. Despite all this, the social battering that many kids took and the eternal struggle of wanting to be liked and accepted did definitely shape the way we are as adults. It may have also taught us some good social lessons and skills as well. From what I see nowadays and what my brothers tell me, life in high school is less of a social ladder and much more inclusive than when I was a kid. Sure, there's the cool kids and the losers, but the social constructs of your clique are much less prevalent now. I actually think kids these days are marginally better people than when I was growing up. Now, my wife is exactly the same age as me, born in 1986. I want to have her sum up her experience in school and make some comparisons. Well, you guys can make those comparisons yourself. Speaking of education, a lot of my students in China that wanted to see the outside world outside of the blocked internet needed to use a VPN. Now, the legality of using a VPN in China is dubious, but VPNs have much more use than getting over the Great Firewall of China. With all of the traveling that I do around the world, I have to make sure that my internet security is safe. I mean, my entire career revolves around my online identity, so that's something I definitely need to protect. Whether you don't want your ISP to see your traffic, or whether or not you're unsure if the Wi-Fi connection that you're on is secure or not, it's super important to make sure that you have a VPN. NordVPN is my VPN of choice. Its ease of use is amazing. You can hop around to many different servers around the world. They offer P2P servers and all kinds of other stuff. They have an app on a phone, or you can use it on your computer. Although one out of Nord's 5,000 servers was affected, the way that Nord dealt with the issue and audited every single one of their servers for security risks gives me a lot of faith that my connection is secure as well. Their transparency and the way that they dealt with the issue gives me a lot of faith to keep using Nord, and that's the VPN I will continue to use. Don't forget to go to nordvpn.com/Laowai86 and use the code Laowai86. Not only will you get 4 months free, but for a limited time only, you'll also get 84% off a 3-year plan. It's a super good value. I appreciate you checking it out and helping to support the channel. Thanks.
Back in the 90s, as a Chinese student, start from primary school, it's really hard already. We technically need to wake up at 6 o'clock, go to school, arrive school at 6:30 in the morning, and then we finish school at 6:30 at night, in the afternoon, and then we still have tons of homework. Regular kids finish homework will be until 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. That's my primary school, most of the primary school kids' life. Nowadays, kids is even worse. They not only need to finish all those, they have extra. They need to go to a lot of like Olympic mathematics, competition class, English, piano, violin, and all those kind of thing. Because nowadays the system we're saying like they need to learn more so that they have extra point to go to better school. We don't have like follow your dream this kind of method. After Chinese education system, everybody become the person that doesn't think. They come out as a mole. They don't have a individual thinking. They don't have a creativity. That is the nowadays Chinese education systems create the people. In China, if you want to talk about the cool kids, it's the kids that can study really well, always at the top of the class. Usually those kids are the cool kids because they can get away with a lot of things, because they are the teacher's pet. They're the good student in front of the parents, so other kids just worship them. But like, we watch a lot of American drama, high school drama about like bully and stuff. That back then for the 80s kids, that doesn't exist. But we did see this kind of thing exist nowadays, because kids actually start to become really like compare about like social status. My dad is rich, my mom is blah blah, I can afford this and that. Back then is really innocent. Like whoever got the good grade, who have the most popularity, they are the popular kids in the school. Because back then we have no time to think about anything else. All we need to do is just have a good grade, go to good school. Every single school is so hard to get because there's a lot of kids out there, but there's so little of option of this good school. So every kids want to have a better life. Every parents put like 1000% attention on the kids, and especially also we're single child, because of the policy, like the parents getting more strict on us. Nowadays some of the kids have individual thinking. They doesn't got molded down like back then, like the 80s kid. 80s kid, if you have some sort of individual thinking, the teacher will like slam on you or saying like, look, just read your books. You don't need to think about anything else. Back then we have two different kind of kids. One is just bad kids, one is just like teacher's pet, good grade kids. Nowadays, of course, they have different type. They have the rich kids, which all the kids just like obey them because they can afford a lot of stuff, snacks, and go to movie and stuff. Back then we don't even know. Like, I remember up until I graduated from high school, probably that was the first time I ever walked into a theater. And nowadays kids, if you go to the theater, especially when it's like working day, but it's a summer holiday and those kind of thing, the majority of customer are the kids. They can afford a lot of stuff. So yes, they have the rich kid, popular kids, and I still believe that the teacher's pet kids still popular, and then there will be the bad kids. Bad kids, I'm not sure are they popular probably they have their own crowd. Either you're rich, then the teacher obey the parents and try to suck up to the parents to get some bribe, or either just like they do love the kids because they have good grade, give them less trouble, or they just totally give up on the bad kids. I don't think they're necessarily bad, but just parents give up on them, teachers give up on them. It's unlike here. I do think teacher here, a lot of teacher, like I think the majority teacher, they being a teacher not because they couldn't survive in life, just because it genuine they want to be a teacher, to teach kids and change somebody's life. And in China, it just, back then in my parents' generation, people become teacher. It's because it's easier. And the house and the job, after you graduate from the university as a teacher, you have a house automatically, and you have a school, you have a job right after. So that makes a lot of people want to become a teacher. It's not necessarily they are a good material of teacher. It just that's convenient. Back then in my generation, I do know like bad kids, it's just like a lot of people give up on them. Their grade is bad, and then they immediately classify those kids as a bad kids. Seriously, just shoving those kids to the bad direction. Back then, all those kids I know, they do smoke. Drink, I'm not sure, maybe drink. But drug, probably it's until I was around like high school. I do think some of the kids started doing drug and pregnant and all those things. But it's kind of rare in my school because my school is a top-notch school. Compared to nowadays, like if you, those kids, the temptation is more. And the situation is the same. All the pressure, and parents give up, teacher give up only because they have bad grade and they think they don't have any other chance, and then they have some bad friends. Temptation, drug, violence, sex, and all those things. It's more obvious. Back then, I think back then the society is more pure. It's not like it doesn't exist. It's less, way less.
Now fast forward to China, and here I am, a freshly graduated educator that's just moved. I really expected the students to be these bookworms, these innocent students, all in uniform, whose main purpose was to be an investment for their parents so their performance in school took priority. This was partially true, but my observations compared to what my wife went through are quite different now. I would often run into my students, both the good and bad ones, at bars, smoking cigarettes, drinking with their friends, and we're talking about kids between the ages of 13 and 18. This was something you just didn't see back in the day in China. The popularity contests also seem much more palpable now as well, as many of my students would gossip about pregnant classmates or kids that couldn't afford the coolest watch. It seemed that even though they had to wear uniforms, by the way, China has the ugliest school uniforms in the world, they now had money to basically accessorize and look different. Whether it was jewelry or the coolest shoes, there's a definite competition to be cool. Now, the level of individualism and expression and rebellion is still nowhere near the West, but there is a blossoming form of self-expression and rebellion nowadays in China. Unfortunately, the education system hasn't changed much, and kids are getting cut off from the international world even more than in the past, but that's another topic.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. Every single Wednesday at 1 PM EST, you can watch a Laowinners video. Click down here for another one. Over here, you can watch a ADVChina video every single Monday at 1 PM EST. And right below that, check out SerpentZA every single Friday at 1 PM EST. Thanks.